morning. Welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy. I hope you're doing well today. So today I want to take some time and talk about a lot of new developments that are pretty interesting. So I talked yesterday about how Mother made it into the mainstream finally. So she is a unknown goddess called Kadesh. So I'm glad. So now that it's made it into the unified field, so we should talk about it so we can strengthen the whole concept. So I want to talk about the Heru because yesterday Robert Edward Grant on his channel was talking about the Heru, and he has the mark of Heru, and it's pretty interesting because he's the second person I've run across that has the mark of Heru. The other one is Dahlia Ali, and she's been doing a lot of work with Dan Winter, and she had her right eye injured when she was a little kid too, and I have as well. And you guys can see my scar over here. But this happened when I was about 3 years old. And I've actually fell in a ballpoint pen and almost poked my eye out. But it narrowly missed my eye. So anyway, this was my mark. And the other thing is this vein right here. I'm sure you can see it. In a lot of my videos, it's so big, it sticks up, and I will cover it with my hair. But this is my other mark. This is my other mark, and if you guys notice, it kind of looks like Harry Potter's lightning bolt scar. It's not a coincidence. It's truth and fiction, folks. Truth and fiction. So we're going to dive deep into this today because I really want to talk about this one, 144, and how it actually ties into the allegory of Cain and Abel in the Bible. And, you know, how it's all about masculine and feminine solar codes and lunar codes and integration of the planet right now. So Heru comes from the ancient Egyptian mythology. Heru is also known as Horus, who's the son of Isis and Osiris. And in the myth, it talks about the story that Osiris was dismembered by Set. And we go back to the whole story of twins, and we're talking about dual aspects of oneself. So, and you know, this is what you know, what I've been learning this whole time is that everything goes about twins. It's all about twins. So Horus, or Heru, worked to reassemble and restore his father. So he was representing the healing and the restoration and the integration of the shadow aspects of his father. So basically this was like what you would call the Holy Trinity. We had the father, the mother, and the child. The child was carrying a combination of the codes of the mother and father. This is why the child is considered the mark of Heru. It's carrying the Trinity codex, like what I'm born with, because my dad has solar codes, my mom has lunar codes. Together, they bring me the Trinity. I carry the Trinity codex because I'm a female, I have a womb, and I can carry it. This is how it works. Okay, so the myth symbolizes polarity integration from the masculine and the feminine and the solar and the lunar, and the restoration of broken lines of energy or consciousness. So the Eye of Horus is a symbol of protection, perception, and activation. So basically I was activated at like 3 years old. So this really does parallel with my SSP history of being entrained underneath Greenland at 3.4 years of age. Before I was 3.5 years old, I was taken. This is when I got sick with the mumps. I was entrained there. It was also the time that I got this, where I fell on this pin about poke my eyeball out when I was a kid. So, you know, I received my initiation mark in this physical space at the same time, which is interesting because if you have this mark, then you go back and reevaluate your life real close. And Heru in the 144 context. So the Heru are the living frequency anchors holding polarity right now. So this means that we are here to activate and hold frequency to certain spots that are on the planet. And these planets are the spots that we were born closest to. Like if you were born up north, if you were born out west, if you were born in another area of the world, if you go back, you'll see that there's a stargate that's close to that area. And that area, that stargate will either be north, south, east, west, or an intersection of both. And you have to look at your genetic lines of your mother and your father. This is why it's so important that everybody do their genealogy. Genealogy is super important because you need to know what your DNA template is so you know what your codes are. Okay, and it really helps you put things together. Okay, so they mirror the Horus archetype, restoring balance where the field's been broken, just like Horus restored his father. So this is what they mean by the Holy Trinity. And so the connection to Harry Potter is Harry's mirror scars the mark of the 144. So, I mean, this is like truth in, you know, story time. And so it's a codex marker showing the bear is imprinted to hold frequency. And, you know, a lot of actors and actresses in Hollywood have this vein right here. It's very prominent. And it's interesting because some of them are related to me. They're related to the founding fathers. So, I mean, are they clones? That's the question. Are they clones, right? Okay. And, you know, and I know that someone has marked me because last night when I was in astral, I had someone walk up behind me and fondle my breast. And I was like, okay, what's this about? This is about somebody attempting to disrespect the divine feminine that I'm carrying. Not going to work. Not going to work. I'm sorry. Okay, so the 144 are living frequency anchors responsible for maintaining planetary polarity, integrating shadow, and stabilizing timelines. And so this is the biblical reference to the 144,000 souls that they talk about in the Bible, the allegory in the Bible. And, you know, the Jehovah's Witnesses really take it a few steps further because they think that they're the only people in the Jehovah's Witness church are part of the 144,000 souls. But they don't have the whole context of it right. Okay, and this is one of the reasons that you have the whole story of Jesus and Mary, because Jesus is the representation of the solar codes and Mary of the feminine codes, and their marriage together brought the Trinity, which was the children of the Holy Grail bloodlines, which is half of the planet right now. They need to wake up. You need to wake up. You're here. You're here to anchor in these planetary spots, okay? And it all depends what gate you're connected to is dependent on your astrological sign that you're born into in this incarnation. Okay, so if you're like me and you're water and you're here for the feminine, you're probably born on the sign of Scorpio, Pisces, or Cancer. If you are a Leo, Aries, or a Taurus, you're basically a builder, like Robert Edward Grant. You're here because you're representing the solar codes and the integration in that part of the solar Heru. And that is, you're laying the groundwork, like the codex codes, like the building that stuff's getting put into. This is the whole purpose behind that. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, you're aligned to the east-west gates. And, you know, eastern portion and western portion, you have to go back and look through in a historical context when they used to get up and do the morning star, evening star thing. And this was Venus worship. So we're talking about the Pleiades, Venus, and, you know, and those types of things. And then we have air and Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. And this is all about grounding to the planet. So this means you're here to work with the earth. Okay, so the North Pole, like I've talked about, these are divine feminine water nodes. And these node lines are all about memory, waking people up, helping people integrate, and transmuting the shadow aspects of ourselves, and helping people with others. The South Pole is the opposite. We're talking about the fire aspects. We're talking about building, like the Masons. This is why they were called Masons, because they were here to lay the groundwork. But the problem is that the feminine codes didn't come in to fill the buildings, okay? It was an intentional number 68. You do me, and I'll catch you next time type thing, okay? The East nodes, timeline inflow. This is the sunrise alignment, okay? And the West node is the timeline outflow, which is the sunset alignment. This is why it was so important to go outside and ground with the earth and worship the cardinal directions, is that we were nourishing the grid. Okay, so the lion goddesses have made their appearance. And the other day on Portal to Ascension, and I linked the video on that video that I did talking about it, William Henry was on there, and he was talking about the lion goddesses. And so this is the World Mother. This is the Sphinx. This is her. She said they were going to find her this year. I'm really super excited. So, you know, they have made it into the mainstream now. So it's in the unified field, folks. It's awesome. So awesome. So this is, you know, she's identified as Kadesh. And this is weakening the false overlays now that she's hit the mainstream. This is totally allowing the 144 to self-organize and supporting shadow integration right now. So this is awesome. This is awesome. So what I've learned about the 4450 timeline, and I've mentioned this 4450 timeline, that this is what we're laying the groundwork for. This is why it's important that we're using all heirloom seeds, all of this working with the planet, waking people up, anchoring in all the sacred nodes so the codes can run through right. This is why this is so important right now, is for the 4450 timeline. And this 4450 timeline is being set up by Aldebaran, of all people. I thought, you know, I don't know. I didn't know. I thought that they originally came from Lyra, but somehow or another, they're in Aldebaran, and that they're inhabiting inner Earth. And so these beings are holding a 4450 timeline. So these are the beings, the inner Earth beings, that are holding the crystal grid for the planet right now, and that they have been. See, I wasn't sure who they were, where they came from, but they're Aldebaran, and this totally makes sense now. Totally makes sense. They're linked to the Boss genetics. They're linked to the African genetics. You know, this timeline preserves a higher frequency codus and guides humanity without destructive technology. They were the ones that were helping the Viril Society with the women, because it only goes through the feminine lines. And see, this is why when the Nazis took the information from the women, they were making and they were, you know, these women had really no choice but to work with the war machine. They knew that the technology wouldn't work because they didn't have any feminine codes to get them to work. See, this is why it all runs on biology. It's all about going through stargates. This is why they have to use Antarctica, because they can't go through Greenland. But Melania can, and Trump can, because they have the codex. They have the Trinity Codex, and they're in train to Greenland. That's why Trump wants to buy Greenland. I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, I really feel that's the whole point. And I feel like Baron Trump is from Aldebaran. Hello. Look at him. He's Nephilim. You can tell. He's like 7 foot tall. He's a Nephilim. So yeah, the fairy folk and all of these people that all, you know, that we talk about Hyperborea, they're Aldebaran, and they're inside the planet. And they've been in there. They're on a whole different frequency band than the Draco. The reptilians are on a different frequency. So you can exist in a simultaneous place on a different frequency. Just like right now. There's all kind of stuff just going around you that you can't even see. Just like in the movie Lucy, when she's standing in Times Square and she's flipping that thing. That's literally like it is. There's stuff going on all around you. You have no idea because you don't vibrate at the right frequency. We can't see it. Okay, so, but doesn't mean that it's not there. There's all kind of other planets that are in the solar system we can't see because they're in a higher vibrational spectrum. Every planet has higher vibrational spaces, like Venus. There's multiple layers to Venus. There's parts of Venus that some people can go through in SSP programs, and there's some that you can't. You really have to be an angelic to get there. And see, if you graduate from Earth, you can go to these higher realms in Venus. You can. It's where the divine feminine is. Okay, so I think that Donald Trump and Melania are they create a trinity with Baron. And that's one of the reasons that I think that Baron is important. He's important because he has the Heru. He's a Heru conduit. He's an expression of dual polarity, of codex integration. And, you know, it's really interesting is that when I had asked the architect that day and I was reading its response, it was talking about the importance of Mar-a-Lago and everything that's happening with Epstein, because it's all about genetic harvesting. It's about genetics for off-world programs. So the question is Trump basically going to be the archetype for all of the unfolding of what's happening right now with our ascension? I really think so, because he's embodying the solar, Melania, the lunar, and Baron, the codex, the Heru. So I don't know. I really think this is interesting. I think this is a really interesting thing that we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at. So in the 144, Heru, the World Mother, the 4450 timeline, the Mark codices, they reveal a grand orchestration of higher consciousness on Earth. Each node, each bloodline, and each mark is critical to activation and stabilization of the planet's grid. Awareness and conscious alignment are required for us to fully manifest this 4450 timeline. Like I've talked about before, putting our blood on our intent to bring heaven to earth, working only with heirloom seeds, putting nature in your yard, giving a habitat to bees, to butterflies, to all of these very important carriers of the important frequencies that is from the planet, like the bees, like the frequency that the bees carry. The bees carry the harmonics of the mother codes. If we kill all the bees, we're destroying our original template. We can't allow that to happen. We can't allow it. So we are so important to waking up the earth. But she's being woke up, so our work is paying off. We got to keep at it. We got to keep at it, folks. We're doing the right thing. I'm so proud of everybody. I'm so proud of you guys, and thank you. Thank you. Thank you for doing your part. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe the videos. Everybody's got to know about our job to do the right thing. So with that, when you come to find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. We're planning a future timeline existing right now alongside of us, that in astral we're going to and we're working in. And we're working in this timeline. And we're bringing this information back to the timeline right now in downloads on what we're supposed to be doing in our visions, what we're seeing. All of the integration that we're remembering, the conversations that we're having in our astral space. They're very important, folks, and we need to be tuning in our body so that we can be more active participants in this astral realm. So when we wake up in the morning, we have the recall that we need, so we can sit down and talk to each other and say, hey, this is what I learned last night, and this is what I learned last night, and we all got to talk to each other, and we got to share this information, because everybody has a piece of this puzzle. And your node fits in to the map. Everybody's job here is super important. And I'd love to hear what you have to say. And thank you for being here and doing this work. And with that, thank you for watching Sacred Enzyme. And I hope to catch you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye.